We're 1 week away from one of the biggest events for fashion, celebrities, and pop culture. And of course, we're talking about the Met Gala. Tony James, he is Metropolitan Museum of Art Board of Trustees co-chair. He sat down with Wall Street Week's David Westin to talk about how the museum has changed since the pandemic.
COVID was very hard on it. The Met, for example, lost $100 million of revenues over the 2 years. So that's hard to recover from. A lot of the art scenes in New York depend on tourism. Our attendance from locals are all the way back. Our attendance from tourists are only in the 70s, and particularly Asian tourists. That's where we're really short. And so it's a bit of a struggle. We've had to find new revenue sources. We've had to be careful about costs. But I think, you know, as we've discussed in the past, David, I think arts are what make New York the gateway city, the wonderful city that it is. So I think it's really important. If
you look at the people who do come to Metropolitan Museum, how have they changed? I mean, how have the demographics changed, the age, the ethnicity, the race, pre-pandemic, through pandemic, into today?
I'm not sure there was a big shift during the pandemic, and then we just kind of lost everyone, and it became more local. But what that said to us is we need to be more appealing to the local, to the local community. We need to connect, and not just the pandemic, but all the horror around George Floyd and whatnot. We just said we have to do a better job connecting to more diverse audiences, younger audiences, and audiences outside of Manhattan. So we've made a concerted effort to do that. There are a lot of people like me in New York, and a lot of them are moving out of New York City. They're moving to Florida if they were concerned about taxes, or they're moving elsewhere if they're concerned about cost of living. What's made New York the strength of the city it is the young influx of educated, motivated people that want to work in tech, especially, but also finance and other high intellectual content jobs. We're trying to make the Met a fun, cool place to go for young people, and that's been reflected in our demographics. It's actually gotten younger.
What about the revenue side of it? You said during the pandemic, obviously, you were hit, Metropolitan Museum was hit, the way all arts institutions were hit badly. How have you come back, and what goes into that revenue side? Because last time I went, you're not required to pay admission actually to go to the Met. It's a voluntary thing.
Yeah. Well, the Met has a particular issue, which I'll come back to, but just conceptually, about 30% of our revenues come from people paying to go in, buying food, buying stuff in the store. So let's just call that revenues. Members as well that pay dues. So that's about 30% of our, about 30% of our revenues comes from spin-off from the endowment. We'd spend about 4.5% of the endowment each year, but that's very restricted because people give, I'm giving this money, but the interest on it can only be used to buy Renaissance art or something. There's fun digs in Egypt. So there's all kinds of strange things. And then about 40%, the remaining 40% comes from contributions of different sorts and benefits, but charitable giving. The problem the Met has is, one of the great things about the Met, depending on how you want to look at it, we sit on city land. It was given 150 years ago, but we sit on city land. And the deal was that city residents can pay what you wish as you come in. So the average city resident pays less than $10 to come in for one of the biggest museums in the world. They can spend days there or weeks there, and whereas a tourist pays $28. And so when you lose your tourism, you lose a lot of the revenue-paying people, honestly. And so that's been a challenge.
What about the donation side, the philanthropic or charitable donation side? By the way, how much of that is from corporations as opposed to individuals?
Very little from corporations. I gather Clive Gillinson's done a better job than that, perhaps, than we have. But ours is almost all giving, individual giving, with a little bit from the city as well.
And has the profile of the giver, the typical giver to the Metropolitan Museum, changed over time?
Well, yes and no. The profile of the cash giver has gotten much more diverse, for sure. And you think about things like the Met Gala and all the celebrities there, and you look at the diversity of that crowd. But with fine art, or with great art, actually, because Met has 2 or 3 million objects that can only show about 15% of any one time. So we want great pieces of art. We just don't want more art. More art just adds more storage, more maintenance, more documentation. So you think about, we're building a new modern contemporary wing It's going to be a really exciting project for the city. $600 million. You could spend $200 million on one Giacometti sculpture if you had to buy it. And we got to fill an entire wing of modern art. So we depend on collectors, usually at the end of their lives, giving us their collections or parts of their collections. So that set of givers that hasn't changed very much. That's still not very diverse. It's old, it's predominantly white, it's very wealthy, almost definitionally. But the people that come in and give cash or go to benefits, that's young, and we make every effort to make that younger and more exciting and hipper. So we're trying to be current. We don't want this to be your grandmother's attic.